Now, it's definitely not easy to be presented with an opportunity to build your own race car, down to the design, then race it and bring home trophies. But for Chief Engineer and lead driver Farah Daniel and her team over at Taylor's University, that's a challenge they were willing to take. She joins us now in the studio together with her suspension and control head Eric Lim and business leader Chong Jae-sun. Thank you for joining us, guys.
Thank you.
Now, Farah, you're a mechanical engineering student. You've told me that with 90% of your classmates being boys, there must be some challenges, correct? Then in 2015, you first joined Taylor's racing team, and you were the only girl. And last year, with 26 people on the team, only 3, including yourself, were girls, and you were made chief engineer.
Yeah.
So my first question is, what drove you to start racing, and what's your motivation?
So when I was 16, I joined F1 in school, where we built a small-scale race car, and then since then I've been wanting to build race cars.
Okay, and how about your parents? So what did they think about this?
My mom was very supportive. It took a while for my dad, but after that they've been very supportive and coming to the lab, bringing me dinner, and then supporting me throughout my races.
Okay, and what about university? Have they been just as supportive as your parents?
Yeah, it was my dean who suggested that I should be the first lady driver, so that's why.
Great, that's great. So what's your point of view on the social norms or like the social expectations in Malaysia? You know how it's a male-dominated sport in the first place. So how do you feel about this?
Well, last year, one of my races, I was laughed at because I was a driver. But then I think it will change after time. If guys can be chefs, why don't girls drive? It shouldn't be an issue.
Okay, that's great. Did you feel like you needed to kind of prove yourself, though?
Yeah, it took me a while. I was always wanting to prove myself that something would work, my idea would work. But after a while, my team became my friends, and they've been very supportive on the idea that I suggest. Yeah.
How did they react in the first place? Because they were, like, majority of them were boys.
Yeah, it was hard at first, but after that, it went really smooth, and that's why we can bring back trophies for the university.
Okay, great. Let's talk a bit about the cars. Eric, what can you tell us about the cars? How do you build them? What's the process like?
Okay, for the cars, we always start with the concept of CDIO. So CDIO is conceive, design, implement, and operate. So for the parts of the cars, we always start on the tires, then go to suspension, then the ergonomics come in, engine and drivetrain, powertrain. The last thing is the chassis and aerodynamics.
Okay, so how do you kind of put everything together? Do you, you use the lab at the university. How does that work? Like how does everything come to place by the time you guys go for racing?
Okay, so every day we go to the lab and work. So each department, they design their own parts, and then all will implement together.
How long does that take usually for one car?
For one car, for design, we normally take 3 months. For the manufacturing part, we take 4 months, and testing for 2 months.
Okay, yeah. Great. So you've mentioned a lot of the pieces that you have to make. How does that come in terms of budget? Jae-shun, can you tell us a bit about how you get the money or the funding to build these cars?
Yeah, sure. So like what Eric said, based on the conceive and design stage, we managed to finalize a budget of 90,000. So from this 90,000, we can derive that the support comes from both external and also the school, but mostly from the school. And aside from monetary, we also receive support in terms of the facilities, the machines that we use, and the raw materials. Yes.
Okay. How about sponsors? Do you have to go out and get them yourself, or how does your university support you?
So for external sponsors, I have a team working together with me, and we're from the business school. So how we do this is we try to find relevant companies in the industry, and we would start off with cold calling, or we would either engage through personal contacts, etc. And how the school helps us is through guidance, a lot of guidance, and also in terms of a media sponsor, media showcase, sorry.
Okay, so that's how you grab sponsors, like to give parts like for tires or for like the side mirrors and things like that.
Yeah, because in the end, sponsors want to be acknowledged for what they have done. So which is why the school helps us with media release, and then we invite all our sponsors and the media, and we showcase our car for the year, and that's how we appreciate our sponsors.
Okay, great. And what about for travels? Because I understand you went to Australia in December, right, for a race.
Yeah.
Who provides the funding for that?
School.
So
Yeah.
everything will be from the
Yeah,
university.
in 2015, we were sponsored by Tune Hotel in Australia as well.
Okay, great. Speaking of races, what kind of achievements have you guys gotten? Like, what can you tell me about the wins?
Okay, so in 2015, we were the first Malaysia team to participate in Formula Student Automotive Engineers in Australia. And then we moved on to the same competition that came to ASEAN in Malaysia in October last year. We won second place overall. And then we moved on again to Australia last year again.
Okay. And what are your plans for after graduation? Because you're in your final year. So are you going to continue racing? Are you going to join? What kind of industry are you planning on?
Definitely
joining?
looking into automotive industry. I'll try my best going into racing, but definitely wanting to build a car again and going on the track.
Okay, great. And what about you guys? Do you plan on kind of continuing with this kind of in this racing in this sport, in this team?
Eric, would you like to go first?
Racing always is my the first thing comes to mind. After graduation, I think I will go more to the racing company or motorsport company. Yeah.
I think as for me, one word to describe my experience being in Taylor's racing team thus far would be refreshing. Because coming from the business school, it's definitely a new experience being able to put theories into practice, definitely gaining new insights into the motorsport industry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just really quickly, do you have any messages for any young aspiring women out there who might want to get a try on this?
One thing though, I learned brick walls are there. It's either to stop you to go for your goals, or either you're going to crush it and go for your goals.
Okay.
So yeah, you decide.
Thank you so much, guys, for joining us today.
You're welcome.
We're going for a short break, and coming up, Trump hints new travel plan in Raleigh. Don't go away.